Regional Representative for the 919 area code. I'm one of the hosts this afternoon, and my colleague, Mr. Skip Watts, he is the 828 East CFNC Regional Representative, also who will be speaking with you about halfway through this presentation. Again, I'd like to say welcome to CFNC's Going to College for Adults session. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking. It can be a little bit of anxiety can take place when getting prepared for planning on going to college, going back to college, or learning more about the process. So we're hoping that by the end of this session that you will feel enlightened on that process and we will relieve some of that anxiety. Thank you again for joining us. Keep hitting this button over here, so I'm gonna see if I can get that out of my way. Here. So College Foundation of, if you could just mute yourself, and we are recording this PowerPoint also. So you will get a copy of this in a day or so. So we will be providing that to you as well. But if you could just remain muted so that everyone can hear and we'll have less feedback. College Foundation of North Carolina, we definitely want you to visit with us, is a one-stop shop resource center where we provide information on planning for your future, applying to college, paying for college, and saving for college. It is a partnership that makes up CFNC. It contains the 58 North Carolina community colleges, the 16 UNC campuses, the 36 independent colleges and universities within the state of North Carolina, the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and College Foundation Incorporated. The six of us decided to come under one umbrella, or better yet, one website, providing everything that our residents here in the state of North Carolina need to know about those 4 topics. We are forever changing and updating information, making sure that it is relevant to today. And we want you to be able to take advantage of all of our free resources on our website. Speaking of which, if you would take note of this little round circle, as gold with a little woman or a little man inside, where you can actually click on the drop down arrow and you will be able to either log in or create a CFNC account name and password, which will allow you to have access to all of our tools and our resources on CFNC's website, as well as maintain a dashboard, a profile of yourself of information that you have visited on CFNC's website. Plan your future. We want you to be able to have a timeline of what needs to be done in order for you to be better prepared for this new journey you're about to go on. So we have a timeline here. It starts with 8th grade. Our website is geared toward elementary to adulthood. So there's something for everyone on CFNC's website, but we wanted you to be able to easily navigate through the website. So we've broken it down into categories, because you definitely don't want to know what a freshman in high school does or a junior in high school. You want to know what is the steps an adult needs to take. So we created this Plan Your Future timeline so that it would help you to easily navigate through the resources that are geared primarily toward you. So we have matched your career goals to educational opportunities. And within that particular module, you will be able to take advantage of our career exploration tools to refine your career aims and find colleges that can help you reach and obtain the goals that you have set for yourself. We also have explore ways to pay for college, and that allows you to be able to make college affordable. We have provided you with resources that are available to you as a resident of the state of North Carolina. And also resources that are available to you if you're going to be going to a school out of state or what have you. But we have provided all those resources under our Pay for College tab, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. Actually, my colleague, Mr. Watts, will be discussing that with you. Also, consider your transfer options. You can use our transfer planner to learn more about transfer opportunities. If you're transferring from a community college to a 4-year college or university, maybe you're transferring from a 4-year college to another college or what have you. So we want to help you with that process, making you aware of what's transferable and what have you. And in this wonderful green bubble over here to your right, it says career Explore careers with Reality Check. You'll be able to create your own plan for budgeting, and you can choose the lifestyle of your liking, and it will allow you to see careers that actually match those careers that have been matched with you or the ones that you have chosen. So we'll be talking about that Reality Check in just a few moments as well. Step one, what careers, interests, and skills? You want to find out about what is going to be matching, what career is right for you, shall I say. So we have plan for college. Is plan for a career? Under that particular column, you would be able to learn about yourself, browse career categories, Reality Check, North Carolina job prospects, planning resources, plan your future, contact us. So let's talk about step one. What are your interests and your skills? You may already know that, but at the same time, you may be trying to still figure out what you want to do when you grow up. A lot of us are still feeling that way. Even though we're adults, we're still trying to figure out, well, what is my, what do I have a passion for? What do I already have a skill set for that I can use toward another career or a career, shall I say. So you spend many times, we spend most of our adult life working. So it's important to find a career that brings us joy and we feel we're helping others and we feel rewarded at the end of the day for the service that we have been able to provide to others. So within that particular tool, we have the Learn About Yourself. There are career assessments that you can actually take. Even if you already know what career you want to go into, we tell students this all the time, still check out the Learn About Yourself assessment test. We have the interest profiler, we have the career cluster survey, we have the basic skills survey, the transferable skills checklist, the work value sorter, and the career key. Within these assessments, you will be able to find out what career best suits your personality. Once you answer a series of questions within the assessments, you'll be able to be matched with various types of careers that interest you. And as you can see, it gives you the duration of time in which it is estimated that it will take for you to complete the assessment. But remember, you're going to create a CFNC account name and password in order to be able to access this tool. And with that account name and password, you don't have to complete it all in one setting. You can actually save it, pick back up where you've left off, or what have you. Speaking of careers, career exploration with CFNC and NC Careers. We are partnering with NC Careers, which allows you to use your CFNC logon, and you will be able to actually access both CFNC and NC Careers in the same setting. We're really excited about that. We refer to it as a single sign-on. It allows the students to browse through both seamlessly. Log in from either side. You'll be able to navigate back and forth easily while logged into. You'll be able to use the career resources. You'll be able to research the most up-to-date careers, as well as find education programs to lead to a career. You'll be able to be connected with financial aid and scholarships. So you can either start with NC Careers and log in with that account name and password, or you can start with CFNC, and then you can actually be able to visit NC Careers. We're really excited about this partnership and of all the information that you're going to be able to take advantage of with that single sign-on. Explore potential careers. Which North Carolina careers have the best prospects? Finding a career that matches your interests and skills is vitally important. But you also want to know which occupation has the very best prospects. That means you will want to consider occupations that are growing and have great salary potential. So take a look at the two tables below. The 5-star occupations with the highest projected growth occupations. We also have, if you would take a look at the bottom, 4 other resources to continue your exploration. Star Jobs is a very is very helpful tool from the North Carolina Commerce to sort and filter hundreds of North Carolina occupations. The North Carolina Tower, you'll be able to look at employment outcomes for degrees from public 2-year and 4-year North Carolina colleges and universities. The college scorecard, you'll be able to find information about the cost of higher education, including average overall loan debt incurred, and also be able to see how the college costs, of course, unfortunately, are increasing from one year to the next, and be able to find one that best suits your career goals that you have in mind. The College Navigator, you'll be able to learn about college cost of attendance, program completion rates, transfer rates to other institutions, and percentages of students who will be receiving financial aid by different types of aid. Step 2, selecting a college. Now that, of course, can be a very, very, very taxing activity. So we've tried to make this as seamless as possible with the enhancements that we've made to our college search tool. Getting a college degree takes more than just studying. It takes planning, a lot of planning. And that means that we're going to have to do some searching on our own, but we're helping you with this search. You'll be able to search for colleges to find the right degrees for you and managing your finances all along the way. CFNC has the information and tools you need to get there. So find the right college for you. You have a lot of great choices here in the state of North Carolina, of course. Our college search tool will help you narrow your search to find the school that fits your needs. And if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, there are some other tools in addition to the college search: explore programs and majors, money management skills, transfer student planner, students with disabilities, students with no fixed address, education for the military, plan for a career, planning resources, plan your future, contact us. And then we also have under our plan for a career, planning frequently asked questions. That's also always a good tool to take advantage of when wanting to learn more about a particular topic. So you also want to, of course, plan and explore programs and majors. Not sure what to study in college? Use this tool to learn more about potential majors and to match majors with your career interests. So we're going to make that as seamless as possible for you within our college search. As you can see here, we have the map of the state of North Carolina, and as you hover over the different areas, you will be able to find out where the actual colleges are located. The North Carolina private, of course, will be with the red tabs, the North Carolina community colleges with the yellow, and then you have the North Carolina public in the blue and the out of state in the black. What I like about this is also a satellite view of the college that you may be potentially thinking about attending, where you'll be able to see what area or what have you the college is located in. But I want to bring your attention to this part right here at the bottom. When you do hover over the college or university, we will give you a summary of that particular college or university, the population, the in-state tuition, as well as the out-of-state tuition. And you can easily access the online application. You can save that school, of course, into your dashboard. And as I mentioned before, you will be able to find out where it's located on the map. Colleges on CFNC. We only have colleges that are not for profit on CFNC, which are made up of our 2-year public colleges, our 4-year public colleges and universities, and our private, nonprofit, independent colleges and universities, because we are a free resource of the state of North Carolina. What you will not find on CFNC are proprietary schools, which are schools for profit colleges. And you can't use state grants to attend these colleges. Transfer credits may be an issue if you don't finish your degree there. So that's something you definitely want to investigate prior to accepting admissions. Employers may have issues with college choices. You definitely want to check with the Better Business Bureau before committing to see if there's been any complaints or what have you that someone has experienced. Make sure the program, the school, is accredited if you're seeking a licensure. And the way in which you can do that to find out about the accreditation is by going to ope.ed.gov accreditation. The accreditation database is brought to you by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Post-Secondary Education. The database is provided as a public service without warranty of any kind. The database does not constitute an endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any of the educational institutional programs. So a lot of planning is involved, of course, when we're choosing colleges and universities, and there's a lot of money that is involved, so we definitely want to make sure we've made the best choice and it meets the goals and aspirations that we have set for ourselves. What's available in your own backyard? Explore local campuses. We have over 110 plus colleges and universities that are not-for-profit right here in the state of North Carolina. So when you're exploring your local campuses, you want to make sure you are aware of what the admissions requirements are, the academic programs. That's key. You want to make sure the college or university has the program that you want to pursue, and we're able to help you navigate and minimize that process by making you aware of what those colleges are that offer the programs that you want to pursue just by you typing that in to our college search engines that we have. Cost and financial aid is also going to be very important. Special opportunities for adult learners, you want to ask those questions. Also, most have online or hybrid options. Some are 100% online. I think COVID had a lot to do with that. And that means you're going to be saving on gas and food and some clothing by sitting right here at your desk or what have you, taking your classes. Information about transfer credits, transfer student planner, you want to have that conversation, and graduate school information. If not on CFNC, you can call toll-free for information. Academic requirements for adults. Requirements for adults can be very different than students who are coming right out of high school. So questions you want to ask: do I need to take the SAT or ACT? Will you look at my SAT or ACT scores from when I took them in high school? For graduate school, will I need to take the graduate recognition exam, the GRE? Are there other tests I need to take to be admitted? Do you need a copy of my high school transcript? Do you need a copy of my college transcript? Do I already have certifications or career background to place out of specific classes? These are some very, very, very crucial questions that you need to ask when you're making your decisions and getting prepared for admissions. I hope the information I've shared with you has been very, very beneficial. I know it has been a lot, but as I said before, it's being recorded. I am now going to turn this over to my colleague, Mr. Skip Watts, who is going to talk with you about the financing of paying for college.
Thank you, Soretta,
Skip.
and welcome adults. Just looked over the chat, Soretta, and I didn't see any burning questions in the chat, but I want to encourage everybody in attendance to feel free to put their questions in that chat. We have several CFNC representatives on hand to answer those questions. So again, if anything comes to mind, please feel free to ask those questions. We are here to answer and make sure you're comfortable with this information before you leave today. So step 3, we're talking about paying for college. We're going to be talking a lot about the free application for federal student aid today, a lot about grants and scholarships. I'll talk a little bit about work study and a little bit about student loans. Basically, I'm here to talk about the financial aspects associated with planning for college. So before we really start thinking about financial aid, we need to develop an understanding of what actually makes up the total cost of a college. In the financial aid world, we make everything an acronym, the first of which is cost of attendance. We call that COA. And the COA includes every cost a student may be expected to pay for when attending a university or college. That could include your tuition, that could include required fees, like maybe the use of the infirmary. You might not use that infirmary, but you still have to pay that fee. You might have some indirect costs like books and supplies. Some schools make you buy all your books, whereas others have rental programs. Transportation costs, those have to be factored in. Personal and miscellaneous expenses, that could be childcare, that could be a computer. And whether or not we're going to live on or off campus, we have to take that into consideration. And as adults, I would imagine most of us are going to consider living off campus. So we'll have to factor in, our rent or our mortgage payments into that total cost of attendance. Ideally, in a perfect world, I want families to try to meet that cost of attendance with grant and scholarship funding. That's free money that comes from either a private organization or a governmental entity, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Okay, so these are just averages. I don't want anybody to absolutely just totally panic because of these costs. They look really exorbitant, but these are sticker prices. And on average, at a publicly supported North Carolina university, you're looking at a total cost of attendance per year of around $27,000. It's dramatically cheaper to attend a community college, which is looking more like $13,000 on average. Whereas a private college or university, which is not supported by the state of North Carolina, they're averaging about $48,000. Part of the reason why private colleges and universities have higher cost of attendance is, again, they're not receiving support from the state of North Carolina to offer North Carolinians in-state resident discounts. But don't write private colleges off if you're still in the planning phase of your college enrollment. If you're really interested in a private school, sometimes private colleges and universities have more institutional scholarships available and more flexibility in awarding those opportunities. And on occasion, those scholarship opportunities can result in a student attending a private school cheaper than a public. It really just depends on when you complete your FAFSA and have that sent over to your college. Then you'll know a little bit more about how much that college is going to cost. And I'll explain that in depth in just a second. Okay, so first off, how do we pay for college? We have gift aid and self-help. Gift aid, that's grants and scholarships. I just alluded to that a second ago. That's free money. That's what we have to maximize as adults, because every dollar that we can find in the form of a grant or scholarship is one less dollar we have to pay out of pocket or perhaps borrow to attend that university or community college. Self-help is another term in the financial aid community that includes employment and student loans. When I say employment, that could be your current job. That could also possibly be a work study job on your college campus. I'm not sure how many adults are going to take advantage of work study opportunities, but if you do, I think they're a great way to help students pay for college. And basically, that's coming from the federal government. It's an opportunity where you can work on your college campus, develop a network, and also get paid a little bit through the federal government for your time on campus. Now, merit-based aid. Merit-based aid is critical. That's scholarships that are based on a special characteristic. That could be your eye color, your religious preference, where you work, your grades in high school or at the community college, etc. Need-based aid is different, though. Need-based aid is based on the student completing the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA. When completing the FAFSA, your score or expected family contribution is what dictates your Pell Grant eligibility as well as your federal direct loan eligibility. I'll speak more about that in just a slide or two. Okay, so I've already alluded to the FAFSA several times. That's the free application for federal student aid. And if we want to get this financial aid ball rolling, we have to complete the FAFSA. Okay, it is currently open for students who are attending college next school year. Okay, when you complete the FAFSA, you are going to be awarded an expected family contribution once you hit the submit button. The lower your expected family contribution, the better. For example, if a student completes the FAFSA and has a 0 expected family contribution, that means that student is eligible for the maximum Pell Grant, which is over $6,000 this year. The reason being, by having a 0 expected family contribution, that shows the federal government that you can't afford to pay anything for college, so they're going to kick that Pell Grant in to help you pay for school. With that said, as your EFC goes up, your Pell Grant eligibility goes down. Okay. In North Carolina, around the 5,000 mark, you're no longer eligible for the Pell Grant, but you are eligible for other programs, potentially like the Education Lottery Scholarship. So I believe everybody should complete the FAFSA as soon as possible after October. So it's open right now. If you haven't done the FAFSA, let's go ahead and try to complete that so we can maximize our potential eligibility. Now, while I'm on the FAFSA, we're going to be enrolling possibly for college in the fall of 2022, in August 2022. Okay. So if that's the case, we're going to need to complete the FAFSA with our 2020 taxes. Okay, so make sure you make note of that. If you're enrolling in college in 2022, you'll want to use your taxes from 2020 to complete the FAFSA. Again, you'll be completing the FAFSA for the 22-23 school year. Make sure you don't complete the 21-22 FAFSA because that will be for the school year we're currently in. Now, as you complete the FAFSA, you can have your results sent electronically to 10 different colleges or universities. As you identify those schools, they will receive your FAFSA results. And if you're accepted into that university or college, they will then take your FAFSA into account and offer you a student aid report, which will detail everything the financial aid office is offering you at that specific institution. Now, I'll come back to that student aid report in just a second, but let's go back to the FAFSA and talk about the application process for students. Now, before we start the FAFSA, I encourage families, if they haven't already gotten their FSA ID, to go ahead and get that FSA ID before starting the FAFSA. Essentially, the FSA ID functions as your electronic signature when completing the FAFSA, and I encourage families to consider completing the FAFSA online to expedite the financial aid process. As I mentioned earlier, the FAFSA opens up in October every year, so we're firmly in FAFSA season. The earlier we submit our FAFSA, the more potential eligibility we have. So don't wait too long past our meeting today to complete the FAFSA because you might outweigh some potential opportunities at both the institutional level and at the state or federal level. Again, you're going to use your prior tax information. That sounds kind of confusing. Just remember, we're using our 2020 tax information for the 22-23 school year. Meet your college's financial aid deadlines. Every college has different deadlines associated with their financial aid programs. So if you haven't already identified a college through the resources that Soretta just identified, or just mentioned, excuse me, go ahead and use CFNC to find schools that have your intended major. Then you can figure out what those deadlines are with regards to their financial aid programs. And then again, I already said it, let's try to complete that FAFSA early, sometime after October 1st, every year we're in college. Make note, this is an annual process, families and students. So we'll want to complete that FAFSA every year. We want to take advantage of the financial aid opportunities that exist. Okay, this is a screenshot of the FAFSA homepage. Put that in there because we want to make sure you have just a visual of what that homepage is going to look like. You can access that homepage at FAFSA.gov. You can access your FSA ID, or you can create your FSA ID at fsaid.ed.gov. Or if you just so choose, you can access both the FAFSA or FSA ID at studentaid.gov. Now, I want to take just a second to mention studentaid.gov has a lot of really important financial information in there. For example, you can identify what different grants mean, what kind of student loans are out there from the federal government, what kind of scholarship possibilities may exist for certain families and students. So I definitely encourage anybody in attendance today to save studentaid.gov as a favorite or bookmark it so you can go back to that site regularly. I think there's a lot of important information in there. You can do the FAFSA on your phone now. Federal government's caught up with the rest of us, and now they offer a student aid mobile app. If you use the student aid mobile app, please make sure you are in a secure wireless environment. For example, you might not want to do it on your phone at the public library because there's the potential that's not a secure environment and you are inputting a lot of personal identifiable information into the student aid app. So again, make sure it is a secured wireless environment as you move forward through completing the FAFSA on your phone, if that's how you choose to do it. Now, I think it was 7 years ago. I could be wrong. My wife would probably correct me because I'm bad with years. At any rate, the FAFSA and the IRS got together and they created a virtual portal so that the IRS can, in a sense, auto-populate all your important financial information onto the FAFSA. This process is called the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. Just like everything else in the financial aid world, we make this an acronym called the IRSDRT. And I strongly encourage you to use the IRSDRT because not only does it shorten the experience or expedite the experience for the user, but more importantly, it reduces the user's chance of verification. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Essentially, the FAFSA is getting your information directly from the IRS, so they assume it's accurate. So I strongly recommend you hit that link in the parent or student tax filing status page. And again, just follow the process. It should really expedite completing the FAFSA. Okay, so Soretta, can you switch the next slide for me, please, ma'am? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Now, when we're completing the FAFSA, students, all of which from 2020. Okay, we're also going to be including asset information as of the day you file. That's not going to include your retirement, your 401k, your 403b, or your home value, but it will include your cash savings checking account balances at the time you file. So just make sure to have an assessment of what that looks like before you go into the FAFSA filing process. You're also going to include any family members in your FAFSA that you are including in your household and you're supporting. That could also include a parent. So if maybe you're hosting a parent who is in their senior years and you're supporting them, make sure you include them as a member of the household. That will impact your expected family contribution. If you're married, they're looking for your marital status, and they'll also be looking for information from your spouse. So again, we have a lot of adults on the line today, many of which are probably married. So if you're married, you're going to have to report spousal information. Now, all that information is going to be taken into context. It's going to be put into a federal methodology, and then you will receive your expected family contribution, which again is what the federal government thinks you can comfortably pay for college. Colleges use your expected family contribution to determine aid eligibility at those institutions. So it is critical that we complete that FAFSA in a timely manner, and it's critical we do so in a factual manner. So let's use that IRS data retrieval tool. I think it was just on this slide, Soretta, but again, the IRS data retrieval tool is super important. Just a reminder, definitely want to use that one. Okay, now this is an example of your student aid report, or in the financial aid world, we call it a SAR. Okay, your SAR is going to be sent to you via email. Okay, so if you're not already checking your email regularly, I encourage you to do so. Once the college you're interested in attending or university accepts you into their enrollment, and then they take into your FAFSA, they then have that student aid report, which they'll generate an award letter. At that point, you'll see information about your Pell Grant eligibility. You'll see your expected family contribution. You might also see some institutional aid eligibility, which I'll talk about more in just a second. Before I get to it, though, I mentioned verification a second ago when we were talking about the IRS data retrieval tool. Verification sounds really scary. In a sense, it's when the federal government or the college you're attending is kind of like auditing your FAFSA to make sure everything's factual. If you use that data retrieval tool, you're much less likely to be selected for verification. So that's one really important reason to use it. But if you are selected for verification, maybe you couldn't use that data retrieval tool. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It just means that you're going to have to use your tax transcript, which you'll actually download from irs.gov, to show that your FAFSA student aid report is factual. This is unfortunately an extra step that we have to attend to, and we need to do so immediately. So if you're prompted for verification, please respond to the email quickly and make sure you adhere to the protocol stipulated within that email. Now, Soretta and I are blessed in the sense that we help a lot of people do the FAFSAs, and my colleagues in attendance handling the chat, they do as well. And these are some of the mistakes that we see year in, year out. And one of the ones that I see most frequently are students completing the FAFSA for the wrong school year. So I'm going to take a step back and try to give you a visual. Now, we're currently in the 21-22 school year, correct? Yes, correct. I can't see anybody nodding, but I assume I'm correct. Okay. If we're enrolling in college next August, we're actually going to be in the 22-23 school year. You'll have the option to do both the 21-22 FAFSA or the 22-23 FAFSA. Make sure you select the correct school year. Make sure you enter correct information throughout the FAFSA. Again, this will be reviewed very closely. Make sure you add every school you possibly could attend. If that includes the local community college, the local public university, and a couple private schools, make sure they all receive your FAFSA student aid reports so they can generate an award letter. I see a lot of students, unfortunately, missing college and university priority deadlines. That's why Soretta and I are stressing that you do some college research to identify what those deadlines are and make sure you adhere to them. There's a lot of institutional aid potentially out there, but you have to stick firm to those deadlines. I see some families, unfortunately, not reporting all their untaxed income, so make sure you have a mindset for what that includes. And then I see a lot of students also forget to sign and submit the FAFSA. It can be a little confusing for some people when they're in the midst of this process. So just make sure you complete the FAFSA by inputting your FSA ID. That will complete the submission process, and you will then get your student aid report. Oh, and lastly, check your email. We're all adults here. I know you guys know to check your email, but do it regularly when you're applying to college. Now, some of you might have been looking at me quizzically when I said we're using our 2020 tax information for the 2022 school year. For some families and some students, 2020 might not be an accurate representation of what happened throughout 2021. That could be a result of the pandemic, unfortunately. So if maybe there's been some crazy medical expenses or loss of employment or dependent care or divorce or some other unusual circumstance that's going to impact your ability to pay for college, you need to let the financial aid office know at the colleges you want to attend and ask for a professional judgment. Professional judgment is when a college or university will take into account the 2021 tax information and potentially re-award the student based on those results. Okay, so it's critical that if something crazy's happened in our family or in our personal financial situation, that we make the financial aid office aware, because those special circumstances can impact your ability to pay for college, and financial aid offices want to help you figure that process out, so keep them in the loop. Now, this is the basic principle for financial aid. Okay, these are pretty much all of the acronyms that I've used so far. We take that cost of attendance, the total cost of the college we want to attend. We subtract it from our EFC or our score on the FAFSA. Whatever we have left over is what I refer to as financial need. In a perfect world, we're going to meet that financial aid with grants and scholarships. And if we haven't already started that research, today is the day. Now, one thing that doesn't change, depending on the institutional type, is your expected family contribution. So in this example, college A, let's think of that as a local community college. Let's think of college B as the closest public institution you would be interested in attending. And college C is a private institution you're interested in. You can see here that the cost of attendance varies dramatically from school to school, but the EFC does not. Okay, that's going to be consistent. What might change is your eligibility for need-based aid or merit-based aid at those different institutions. Again, private schools often have flexibility to offer merit-based aid in different ways than publics, and sometimes that means that a private school could be, in turn, comparatively priced or maybe even cheaper than your local public. It just depends. Now, these are some of the sources of financial aid. The federal government is probably the largest. The Pell Grant program is a huge program that benefits millions of Americans. But we also have to factor in state aid. State aid from the state of North Carolina is contingent on you completing the FAFSA in a timely manner. If you wait too long to complete the FAFSA, like maybe you wait until January of 2022, you might wait your way out of some state aid eligibility. So again, I want to impress upon you that if you haven't already completed the FAFSA, let's try to do so quickly so we can maximize aid at the federal and state level. Now, colleges and universities often offer the biggest award packages. So make sure we do our research, because every university and college operates differently with regards to how they offer scholarships and grants, or scholarships particularly. There's private sources. If we are lucky enough to be employed, maybe our employer has scholarship opportunities for employees. Maybe we're really active in our church. In that case, we want to talk to our pastor or our priest or our imam or our rabbi or whatever your faith-based leader is about possible faith-based scholarships. There might be scholarships from local civic organizations like the Rurtans and the Moose and the Elk and the Kiwanis, and there's all kinds of civic clubs. And basically, again, we want to try to maximize scholarship and grant funding from a plethora of different institutional opportunities. If you do so, that's a great way of minimizing out-of-pocket expenses or potentially borrowing to pay for college. If we have to borrow, I want us to borrow as little as possible because every dollar we borrow for education has to be repaid back. Okay, now I talked a little bit about loans a second ago. Those factor into the self-help category of financial aid alongside of work, study, and employment. Okay. If we borrow, I think as a general rule, we never want to borrow more than our first year's proposed salary after we graduate. So Soretta was showing you all those really cool career-oriented tools on CFNC. It's helpful to figure out what you want to study, then identify how much you're going to earn through CFNC on those career pages, and then keep that in the back of your mind as a ceiling for how much you want to borrow or could borrow. Ideally, I don't want you to borrow anything. But if you exceed that first year's salary, you're going to have problems paying back those loans. And ideally, we want our college education to improve our quality of life, not detract from it. So, in that mindset, we need to maximize grant and scholarship opportunities. And I sound like a broken record. That starts with the FAFSA. And the FAFSA, if you haven't already done it, that should be starting today. Okay, so we have two concentric circles here. We have need-based aid, which is contingent upon the student completing the FAFSA. And we have merit-based aid, which is, again, based on a special characteristic. I want you guys to try, if possible, to maximize both need and merit-based aid in ways that you can pay for college. Ideally, again, I don't want you borrowing. And a lot of us have to borrow because we're not thinking proactively about how to access all the aid that's available. That starts again with the Pell Grant. If you're working on your first undergraduate degree, whether that be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, you might be eligible for that Pell Grant. There's also the Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant that comes from the Fed. You got to do the FAFSA though. You got federal work study, possibly. And then you also have direct loans. Direct loans are student loans that come directly from the federal government. There's two main types for students. The subsidized Stafford loan, interest rates at 3.73. But what's cool about the subsidized Stafford loan is it doesn't accrue interest while you're in college. Okay. So again, just to repeat myself in case you weren't listening, that subsidized Stafford loan is probably the most attractive. It's a need-based program, and it does not accrue interest when that loan is dispersed. When I say need-based, that means you got to have a lower EFC to be eligible for the subsidized Stafford loan. The unsubsidized direct loan, that goes to anybody that completes the FAFSA. It's at the same interest rate, but it starts accruing interest from the date of dispersal. There are parent loans and graduate student loans. The interest rate is much higher. There are also private loans that can come from the state of North Carolina or from other entities like a bank or a student loan conglomerate. Just bear in mind, every dollar we borrow, we got to pay back. So let's be extremely conservative with regards to borrowing for college. I realize that we have a lot of adults on the line. If perhaps you were a member of our armed service, I commend you and I thank you for what you've done for our service, or for our country rather. If that's the case, definitely check out va.gov. va.gov has all the information you'll need to be able to take advantage of your veteran affairs and also your potential post 9/11 GI Bill eligibility. So again, if you've been in the military, check out va.gov for possible opportunities to help you pay for college. Now, as far as sector-based aid, that's North Carolina state aid. That comes from North Carolina. That goes to North Carolinians. That starts with the Education Lottery Scholarship. That's kind of like a middle income program for North Carolinians that complete the FAFSA and roughly have an EFC over 5,000. Okay. Community College Grant, the UNC need-based grant, go to students that show need on the FAFSA, have low EFCs, and are going to one of those institutional types. Now, the North Carolina need-based scholarship is a little different, and it's kind of unique to North Carolina. That goes to students that are attending a private university and have a low EFC. In that case, the state of North Carolina may potentially kick in some funds to help you pay for that cost of attendance at a private school. Some other programs, some of which are near and dear to my heart. Golden Leaf is one. If you live in a county that historically had a tobacco-oriented economy, check out CFNC.org for the Golden Leaf program. That's a really wonderful opportunity that's overlooked sometimes by North Carolinians. as is the Forgivable Education Loan for Service, or FELS. Okay, this is not a true loan. This is more of a critical needs area administered by the state of North Carolina in hopes of attracting more professionals into healthcare and education. If you're going into one of those fields, the state may be able to help you pay for your college education under the assumption you'll work in North Carolina after you graduate. You can check out all the specifics at cfnc.org FELS. And again, that's for future healthcare providers and possibly educators. There's also information on the teaching fellows. You can find that at teachingfellows.com. And again, use that scholarship database on CFNC for additional opportunities that may not be promoted elsewhere. Another thing that's unique to North Carolina is the residency determination service. In North Carolina, in order to be able to access your eligibility for in-state tuition discounts, you have to prove you're a resident of the state of North Carolina and have been so for over a year. If you haven't done RDS, I'd recommend you're going to go ahead and do it sometime soon if you're applying for college in August. To do so, you go to ncresidency.org. Going to take into it's going to take into account information like how long you've had a driver's license in the state. You'll need to have your social security card available. You may even need to have some other information that is requested by RDS to prove your residency. Process should take about 30 minutes. Just go ahead and knock it out before you do your college applications, because by completing residency determination service, you'll receive a residency certification number, which is required for all North Carolina community colleges and universities. Now, the RDS process starts, well, most of us are going to be independent students, so they're going to be trying to track down how long we've been living in North Carolina. To do so, you're going to have your social security card, your driver's license, your North Carolina address, possibly your car registration, maybe North Carolina work history, and maybe some tax information. So it's helpful to have access to that information before registering for RDS. Again, once you complete the process, you receive that residency certification number, which every college and university in North Carolina will require on their application. You only have to do this one time. So just go ahead and take 30 minutes before you start applying to colleges, knock it out. And then if perhaps you need a reconsideration, you need to do that 90 days of completing that process. Or if you just want to do an appeal, you'll do that 10 to 25 days after your initial RDS residency certification number. Now, there's all kinds of ways we can pay for college. I've mentioned several times, I want you to pay with scholarships and grants, preferably, which means you don't have to pay any of your money. But a lot of adults pay for college out of pocket. Even some colleges or some adults have their own 529, which is a college savings plan. College is getting more expensive every year, unfortunately. Sometimes we have to think outside of the box with regards to how we're going to pay for school. When I was in graduate school, several of my colleagues in my classes, or my cohort rather, had their own 529 in North Carolina, which they used for the tax incentives and the tax benefits to pay for their college experience. I mentioned VA benefits. There's also Workforce Investment Act benefits. You can use your current income. You can pay out of pocket if you choose. Some colleges, in fact, most colleges have payment plans. And of course, you can work to pay your school off at the time you're in school. There's outside scholarships. I mentioned many of those a few minutes ago. I want to take one more second to just put a shameless plug in for CFNC's scholarship search tool. It's really valuable. It's in the pay for college side of the website. If you haven't already started looking for that or looking through those scholarships, please do. We want to find scholarships from a bunch of different entities to pay for college. And then there's private loans as well. I mentioned that you can borrow from your local bank, your credit union, student loan conglomerate, or the state of North Carolina in the form of an NC Assist loan. Just don't get hooked. Excuse me. All financial aid information is free. Never pay for this information. Never pay for scholarship information. And private student loans, just make sure that the interest rates are fixed and investigate all the specifics carefully. I mentioned the NC Assist loan a few minutes ago. That's administered by the State Education Assistance Authority and College Foundation. You can see here the interest rates are competitive for parent loans and also competitive with the federal rates for the direct loans. So if you're interested, you can check those out by going to ncassist.org. CFNC, my employer, has all kinds of other resources that are designed to help illuminate this college going process and, more importantly, help you reduce how much you pay. So as I've already touted, we got scholarship opportunities. We got a bunch of them that you need to review. We also have videos. If you just want to hear me talk about the financial aid process again, you can check me out on our YouTube page, or you can check out videos of us talking about this process on cfnc.org. Soretta mentioned we have a financial literacy course. I'm an adult. I try to be financially literate, but I make some mistakes. So occasionally I reflect back on that course just to help correct my course. We got budget savings calculators, credit card calculators, a smart borrower calculator, and also net price calculators for every college in North Carolina. So all those tools are there. They're easily accessible and they're free through cfnc.org. So please utilize them to the best of your ability. Now, the college scorecard, Soretta mentioned that earlier. It's the program that was initiated by the Obama administration to help just kind of clear and level the playing field between all the colleges statewide and nationally. So scorecards are a great place to find statistical information like the average annual cost at a school, how much loan debt students accrue, what the graduation and retention rates are, and also get averages for salary after graduation at the school you're interested in. That's a really valuable tool you should take advantage of if you're still researching different colleges. It also links you to the FAFSA forecaster and the college's net price calculator, as CFNC does, where you can compare different college costs to figure out what the best bang for your buck is. Now, if you just haven't had enough of Soretta and I, you can connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I'm at Skip at CFNC, Soretta's at Soretta at CFNC. We try to not only promote our local regional programs, but we also try to promote unique financial aid opportunities that might not be promoted through other typical media outlets. So definitely check us out on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. I think my friend Brittany even has a Snapchat if you're so inclined. And if you need any other questions answered, you can call us toll free at 866-866-CFNC, or you can go to cfnc.org. I'm going to turn it back over to my friend and colleague Soretta to answer any questions that might be in the chat. So, Soretta, what do we have?
I haven't noticed anything in the chat thus far, Skip, but I want to thank everyone for definitely being with us this afternoon. I do believe that my colleagues that are all on the line have been answering the chat the entire time while we've been going along, and I'm going to try to see if I can pull it up to see if I see anything there. I know it was a lot of information that both Mr. Watts and I have shared this afternoon with you. It's a lot to take in. So that's where that video is going to be so very, very helpful for you to be able to listen, pause, play it, rewind and then play, and be able to also be reminded of the many resources that we have available on CFNC's website. As Skip stated, it's a plethora of information there to help you with planning, applying, paying, and saving for college. And we hope that you take advantage of it by creating that CFNC account name and password. And of course, if you have questions after today, feel free to reach out to us at 1-866-866-2362, and we will get back with you very promptly. We have a call center that's available to you to answer questions Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and 8 to 5 on Friday for any questions that you may have regarding maybe something you don't see on CFNC's website and you're looking for it. And if we don't know the answer, we'll definitely investigate and get back with you. I'm now going to ask my colleagues if there are any additional questions that you see in the chat that have not been answered that we need to entertain before signing off. Skip, do you see any questions? Hello. No questions?
Sorry,
If no,
Sharetta, I was double muted.
it's
I don't
okay. I understand.
I don't see any additional questions, but I do want to encourage anybody that is hoping to attend college next year to go ahead and do that FAFSA. It is time sensitive, and we are in FAFSA season. So please utilize all the resources that are available. If you have questions, you can call us. Your local community college is also a really good resource. But the best resource for financial aid related questions is the specific college financial aid office at the school you want to attend. Every college is a little different. So make sure you are in frequent communication with those institutions. They can provide you the most accurate information. Thanks again for your time, Soretta. I really enjoy working with you. Appreciate the
Same.
opportunity.
And one last thing I would like to say is please stay connected with us. As Skip mentioned, all the different social media platforms that we're on, but you can also go to cfnc.org/events to find out about future opportunities such as this particular one that we made available to you this afternoon. We'll be having virtual events throughout the course of the year on various topics that you and your family and loved ones can take advantage of. So please spread the word about the free resources on cfnc.org and have a great afternoon. Thank you.